In a shocking twist, actress Tatiana Maslany cast doubt on a second season of She-Hulk, attorney at law due to budget concerns. Maslany candidly stated, "I think we blew our budget," and Disney was like, "No thanks."
She's talking to the creator and demanding her story be different. Like, all of that was such a surprise, and it felt risky, and it felt like it was gonna piss people.
Disney has been facing struggles lately with both the MCU and Star Wars franchises losing steam, but the one exception has been the upcoming Deadpool 3 starring Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, which is rapidly approaching the $1 billion milestone at the box office. While this success is celebrated, it has also led to rising tensions behind the scenes, particularly with Tatiana Maslany, who was originally set to make a significant appearance as She-Hulk. Maslany now finds herself at odds with Disney and Reynolds after her role was removed entirely from the film. This exclusion has sparked frustration for Maslany, who had hoped her appearance in Deadpool 3 would elevate her character and showcase She-Hulk's place in the larger MCU and Fox crossover. The decision to cut her scenes has fueled tensions with Reynolds, as well as Disney executives, adding to the growing discord within the company.
We have to have a world where Deadpool and She-Hulk could share a scene because they'd never talk to each other.
Yes, they would just truly be like trying to command different cameras.
Oh, hello. I know, right?
And like, whose perspective are we following then? That would be very fun. Did you know that also, isn't Deadpool from Regina, Saskatchewan?
He is a Canadian, yep.
A hush falls over the crowd as rookie sensation Wade W. Wilson out of Regina, Saskatchewan lines up the shot.
But that's where I grew up. So here is a connection. This is how deep the MCU kind of cameo situation goes, right?
Yep.
This is Kevin Feige inceptioned me into my mother's body. He did not.
Imagine though, he could. Yeah,
yeah. Ryan, fellow Canadian here, fellow Canuck. Sorry, but we did it first, buddy. And also, Deadpool is from Regina, Saskatchewan, and so am I.
Oh.
So we're getting very meta about this.
Tatiana Maslany entered the MCU with high hopes for She-Hulk to evolve from a TV character into a film presence, particularly looking forward to her role in Deadpool 3 and Wolverine. She was excited when she learned that She-Hulk would make 2 cameo appearances in the film. One of these scenes featured a significant fight sequence against Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, promising fans a high-stakes moment of MCU Fox crossover brilliance. Maslany spent 2 weeks training intensely for the scene, aiming to deliver a physical, action-packed performance that would showcase She-Hulk's strength in a new light. The second scene had a more comedic tone, with She-Hulk appearing during the third act, berating both Wolverine and Deadpool while breaking the fourth wall, as she often does in the comics. This scene was intended to be a bold, funny moment of self-awareness, highlighting the clash between the older Fox characters and the newer MCU faces. Maslany believed these moments would elevate She-Hulk and prove that she belonged alongside the big league heroes in the MCU. However, things didn't go as planned. Maslany's fight scene reportedly drew criticism during early test screenings, with audiences noting that her performance didn't match the intensity and skill demonstrated by Jackman and Reynolds. This contrast made the scene feel jarring and out of place, leading to the unfortunate decision to cut both of her scenes from the theatrical release and the director's cut. The scenes were removed entirely, leaving Maslany feeling sidelined and disappointed, especially after all the work she put into preparing for these moments.
Tatiana Maslany had one of the most mixed reactions ever doing She-Hulk, but now she's announced the show is over and she is out. Tatiana said season 2 is not happening because they exceeded their budget by $50 million and Disney isn't happy. But the internet's probably happy now, and with that, I'm Charles Pearl, subscribe to learn something.
So why is it okay for Deadpool to break the fourth wall and crack some inappropriate jokes? But when She-Hulk did it, people were pissed off. It's actually very simple. Not only are the jokes that Deadpool makes actually funny, but they're surrounded by a good movie. And this is nothing against Tatiana whatsoever. I'm sure she's a good actor, but she just had a terrible script and a terrible show. And a lot of her jokes were just utter trash, like they weren't even funny.
Maslany's frustrations grew even deeper when she learned that Ryan Reynolds himself had pushed for her removal from Deadpool 3. Insiders revealed that Reynolds wanted to keep the focus on legacy Fox characters like Deadpool and Wolverine, rather than incorporating MCU heroes into the mix. This decision sidelined Maslany, making her feel as though her contributions were undervalued. The removal of She-Hulk's third-act appearance was particularly painful. In this scene, She-Hulk would have confronted Deadpool and Wolverine about their antics, creating a clash of personalities between the two iconic figures and the new MCU addition. It was a chance to position her character as both a comedic foil and a force to be reckoned with. However, Reynolds believed that this scene disrupted the tone and flow of the movie, arguing that fans wanted nostalgia with their favorite legacy characters, not newer heroes stealing the spotlight. This decision left Maslany feeling dismissed and ignored. Now, she is demanding that her scenes be included in a special edition of the film, a request that Reynolds has reportedly blocked. As she feels increasingly sidelined, Maslany claims that she wasn't fully compensated for her role, adding yet another layer of tension to the situation. She is now considering legal action to ensure she is properly compensated and acknowledged for the work she put into the project, making the conflict even more personal and high stakes.
Tatiana Maslany, the actress behind She-Hulk, is furious, and she's not staying quiet about it. Ever since her show bombed and was quietly shelved by Disney, she's been on a warpath. Now, she's got her sights set on Ryan Reynolds and his wildly successful Deadpool and Wolverine movie, which just crushed it at the box office. So why is she so mad? Rumor has it, a deleted scene featuring She-Hulk in Deadpool's latest adventure was cut by none other than Ryan Reynolds himself. And that's just...
It seems we have another casualty of Marvel's Disney Plus cutbacks as She-Hulk. Attorney at Law is unlikely to get a second season. After years of overspending on underwhelming projects, She-Hulk's 9-episode run, which cost $200 million, didn't live up to expectations. In an interview on Codenames Live, the new class, Maslany admitted, "I don't think so. I think we blew our budget." And Disney was like, "No thanks." The show's tight production schedules led to subpar CGI, and some scenes had to be patched after the series aired. While She-Hulk aimed to blend social satire with superhero action, backlash came swiftly, with a vocal group of fans accusing it of being too woke due to its feminist themes. Maslany faced harsh criticism, revealing that much of this backlash was rooted in sexism, making it even harder for newer female-led stories to thrive in the MCU. Maslany's frustrations didn't stop with the She-Hulk series. After her scenes were cut from Deadpool 3 and Wolverine, she claimed it reflected a larger issue in the MCU, where fresh, diverse characters are sidelined in favor of legacy male heroes. One of the cut scenes even had She-Hulk confronting both Wolverine and Deadpool, breaking the fourth wall to criticize their actions. Despite her efforts, Ryan Reynolds allegedly insisted that the focus remain on the Fox legacy characters, Wolverine and Deadpool, rather than incorporating newer MCU figures. Maslany has since accused Reynolds of being sexist for not wanting She-Hulk included in the crossover. However, insiders suggest the cuts were more about creative decisions to ensure the film's storyline remained tight and focused on the returning fan favorites, rather than any personal bias. The tension between Maslany and Reynolds didn't end there. On set, Reynolds reportedly grew frustrated with her demands, viewing them as disruptive. Meanwhile, Maslany interpreted Reynolds' control over the project as favoritism, believing that Disney executives were bending over backward to accommodate his vision while ignoring hers. Maslany's outspokenness has come with consequences. Her criticism of Bob Iger may have impacted her future with Disney, and her legal threats regarding compensation for her Deadpool and Wolverine scenes have added to the drama. While She-Hulk introduced a unique character to the MCU, the backlash, combined with production issues, led to its early demise, leaving Maslany feeling sidelined and excluded from major MCU development.
For a season 2?
I don't think so. I think we blew our budget, and Disney was like, "No thanks."
Oh, wow. I thought it was the best thing Marvel had done in a really long time.
She also did confirm to us, tragically, that it doesn't look like we're going to get a season 2 of She-Hulk. She said about the possibility of it. I don't think so. I think we blew our budget, and Disney was like, "No thanks," because that was truly the only problem with that show. They just went over budget.
No. Oh,
perfect otherwise.
What's that even in reference to? Like, were they given $250 million and supposed to spread it out through multiple seasons and just blew it all in the first season?
Just like so many projects in Phase 4 and Phase 5 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the She-Hulk series was a complete and total disaster. Not only did this 9-episode sitcom cost $25 million per episode, $225 million as an entire series, but it was absolutely reviled by fans. People could not stand it. They hated it. Despite the critics trying to tell you this is exactly what Marvel needs.
Tatiana Maslany's tensions extend beyond her disagreements with Ryan Reynolds. She has also spoken out against Disney CEO Bob Iger, especially during the SAG-AFTRA strike last year. Maslany became a prominent voice when she publicly called out Iger for his comments about the Hollywood work stoppage. While she was on the picket line in New York City, Maslany stated, "I think he's completely out of touch with the workers who make his shows happen." Her remarks garnered significant attention, particularly because She-Hulk is a Disney-backed Marvel series streaming on Disney+. Many felt Iger's comments, which suggested that the demands from writers and actors were unrealistic, indicated that he didn't understand the struggles of those working in the industry. His statement during the strike, "This is the worst time in the world to add to that disruption," upset many in Hollywood, including Maslany, who felt that their hard work and concerns were being dismissed. Adding to her frustration is her relationship with Ryan Reynolds, particularly regarding the Deadpool and Wolverine film. Maslany believes her exclusion from the movie highlights a broader issue in the Marvel Universe, where newer and diverse characters like She-Hulk are often pushed aside in favor of older, more established male heroes. Reynolds' strong desire to focus on legacy characters means that newer faces, like Maslany's She-Hulk, often feel left out. The tension between Iger's decisions and Reynolds' creative control creates a tough situation for Maslany, leaving her caught between the two men's different goals and making her fight for recognition even more challenging. Iger's comments also drew criticism from SAG-AFTRA President Fran Drescher, who called his words tone-deaf, pointing out that he seemed disconnected from the real struggles of everyday workers who earn far less than he does. Maslany's bold comments reflect her commitment to supporting those behind the scenes in the entertainment industry, especially as she strives to carve out her place in a world dominated by established male heroes. As of now, Disney and Marvel have not confirmed a second season for She-Hulk, and Maslany's future in the Marvel Cinematic Universe remains uncertain. She continues to fight for a chance to be seen and heard in a franchise where she feels...
Interview on Codenames Live. The new class, Maslany admitted, "I don't think so. I think we blew our budget and Disney was like, no thanks."
Tatiana Maslany, known for her role as She-Hulk, has emerged as a powerful advocate for inclusion within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU. Her push for greater representation stems not only from her commitment to the character, but also from her broader desire for more female-led narratives in a franchise historically dominated by male heroes. As part of Disney's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion (DI) initiative, She-Hulk was meant to serve as a symbol of progress, showcasing a strong female lead while exploring themes related to gender and identity. Maslany's dedication to ensuring that She-Hulk is more than just a side character highlights her awareness of the shifting dynamics in Hollywood, where audiences are increasingly demanding more diverse stories and representation. However, her frustrations grew when her series, initially celebrated for its progressive themes, struggled to gain the traction she had hoped for. This disappointment deepened when she filmed extra scenes for Deadpool 3, a crossover that could have spotlighted She-Hulk's potential, only to see those scenes excluded from the final cut. This omission left her feeling sidelined in a universe where she believes her character should have a more significant role. Maslany's efforts to lobby for inclusion in future MCU projects, particularly in major events like Avengers, Secret Wars, underscore her determination to ensure She-Hulk is not reduced to a footnote in the franchise's expansive narrative. She aims to secure substantial story arcs for her character that reflect the evolving conversation around representation in media, positioning She-Hulk as a vital and impactful part of the MCU moving forward.
She recently starred in the Disney Plus series She-Hulk Attorney at Law. And like many actresses, she is currently on strike. You can see a shot of her striking right here. It's part of the WGA SAG-AFTRA strike. But she's going beyond that. And I guess it makes sense that an actress who played She-Hulk would be bolder than most, because she's not just generally on strike. She is directly attacking Disney CEO Bob Iger, the guy who in theory is in charge of whether she gets to be in future seasons of She-Hulk or in the movies or other series. She was asked about his recent comments in which he called the strike very disturbing and said that the unions need to be realistic by saying, I think he's completely out of touch. He's completely out of touch with the workers who make his shows happen, who make people watch these shows, who bring viewers to him and him money. Having worked on a Disney show, I know where people fall through the cracks and where people are taken advantage of. And it's outrageous the amount of wealth that is not shared with the people who actually make the show. That's crew, cast, writers. I have friends who've been doing this for 30 to 40 years and have lost their health care because the minimums are so relatively low, but wages have gone down. People's quotes no longer stand for anything. It's just like we've been completely cast aside.
I think we're just at a really strange place in our industry where money is being prized over like everything, and the people who make decisions have zero interest in protecting story or investigating interesting things. And I think it's just like, I'm so grateful to the writers for striking right now. I think it's like absolutely vital, and I really hope SAG does the same, because I think there's some real shitty things happening. Obviously there always have been, but it's like come to such a head where the certainty of being able to do the job that so many people have.
Ryan Reynolds finds himself in a challenging position as Disney pushes for a more extensive DI agenda within the Deadpool franchise. While he acknowledges the importance of diversity and inclusion, he is concerned about how these initiatives could reshape a character that has become iconic for its irreverence and edgy humor. Reynolds has poured significant emotional and creative energy into Deadpool, viewing the role not just as a part to play, but as an expression of unique storytelling that resonates with fans. The creative team behind Deadpool, including Reynolds, director Sean Levy, and writers Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, are fiercely protective of the franchise's tone. They argue that introducing social justice and diversity-focused themes, while valuable, should not compromise the essence of the character. Reynolds is worried that forcing these elements into the narrative could result in a diluted version of Deadpool, one that loses the boundary-pushing humor and politically incorrect charm that has made it a billion-dollar success. This tension between Maslany's advocacy for inclusion and Reynolds' concerns about creative integrity reflects a larger struggle within the MCU. While Maslany sees potential for She-Hulk to thrive under Disney's DEI initiatives, Reynolds views these efforts as a threat to the authenticity of his character. At the heart of the issue is the balance between promoting representation and preserving the core elements that define beloved franchises. As Reynolds fights for Deadpool's unique identity, he has rallied support from other creatives within the Marvel Universe. He's been in discussions with teams behind projects like the Blade reboot and Daredevil, Born Again, hoping to form a united front that advocates for the inclusion of mature content in the MCU, content that can coexist with the more family-friendly narratives without losing it.
Yeah, about that. It's true. I am a Hulk. And I'm guessing you're not going to be able to focus on this fun lawyer show until you know all about that, so let me get you up to speed.
So if you want to go back to your life as a lawyer, I respect that.
Thanks.
Disney executives are finding themselves in a difficult position as they navigate the growing tension between Tatiana Maslany and Ryan Reynolds. With Deadpool already having grossed an impressive $1.3 billion worldwide, Reynolds is undeniably one of Disney's most valuable assets. The studio faces the challenge of balancing a harmonious relationship with him while addressing Maslany's concerns to avoid a PR disaster. Maslany, an advocate for inclusivity in the MCU, has voiced her frustrations over the lack of representation and her exclusion from the promotional efforts surrounding Deadpool 3. As part of Disney's broader diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI initiative, she champions narratives that empower women and showcase diverse leads. However, despite her advocacy, she has felt marginalized, especially as she strives for more significant representation within the MCU. Meanwhile, Reynolds has made it clear that his focus for Deadpool is to prioritize entertainment over politically driven narratives. He has been vocal about his reluctance to see the franchise fall into the same traps as other Disney projects, such as the live-action Snow White adaptation, which faced significant backlash over its diversity casting and storytelling choices. Despite efforts to promote inclusivity, the film struggled with public perception and underperformed at the box office, illustrating how forcing representation without a strong narrative can lead to failure. The discord between Reynolds and Disney's DEI initiatives has become even more complicated by Maslany's threats of legal action, adding urgency to the situation. Disney's refusal to release her film scenes in a special edition has left the conflict unresolved, continuing to fuel her frustrations. Critics within the industry highlight that high-profile actors like Reynolds often wield considerable creative control, overshadowing the voices of advocates for broader representation like Maslany. This tension underscores the challenges within the MCU's evolution, where balancing artistic integrity with corporate-driven inclusivity is increasingly delicate. Reynolds fears that attempting to dilute Deadpool's edgy, irreverent nature with forced DEI elements could strip away the franchise's unique appeal. He believes that the character's strength lies in its ability to challenge norms and engage audiences with humor that pushes boundaries. As Reynolds fights to maintain the integrity of Deadpool, he sees this struggle as part of a larger battle for the future of Marvel Studios. With the original Avengers stepping back and Phase 4 films receiving mixed reviews, Reynolds views Deadpool as a key opportunity to reinvigorate the franchise while respecting its roots. His team has pitched darker, more mature themes for future Deadpool films, hoping to create a narrative that can coexist with the family-friendly tone of other Marvel productions. However, Disney's commitment to DEI-driven narratives complicates these ambitions. As Reynolds works alongside other key Marvel creatives, he hopes a united front can persuade Disney to carve out a space for more mature content within the Marvel brand. Despite the ongoing tensions, the battle for representation, artistic freedom, and audience engagement continues to pose critical questions about the future direction of both Maslany and Reynolds' projects within the MCU.
Discussing with Disney the jokes about Disney.
The fun story would be that Disney was just appalled at everything and was never going to let us do anything. But that's on one hand. On the other hand, money. They had a lot of faith in us to deliver and to self-govern. So yes, there's jokes in there that I personally cannot believe they let us.
And in fairness, because we were like the kind of good boy students turning in our script every once in a while, and every time we send a script, we were like kind of waiting, and the pushback never.
Behind-the-scenes drama in the MCU highlights the ongoing struggle where creative control, representation, and money often clash. Milan is fighting to keep She-Hulk in the spotlight, revealing how difficult it can be for new characters to compete with fan favorites like Deadpool and Wolverine, who are expected to rake in major profits. Ryan Reynolds' approach clearly works, but it raises questions about the impact this has on other characters. Reynolds has even threatened to quit future films if Disney continues pushing ideas he feels are damaging to the franchise. This has left Mini frustrated, as she strongly believes in the values these characters represent and wants to see them thrive in the MCU. The future of She-Hulk is uncertain. Will Mini's vision win out, or will She-Hulk fade into the background? Fans will have to wait and see how this all plays out. What do you think? Should Disney have kept mass scenes, or was Reynolds right to focus on popular characters? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more MCU updates.
See you next time.